Hey everybody, my name is YHR and welcome back to a brand new video. First off, I'd like to thank the people who supported last week's video. It really means a lot to me. I saw a lot of people supporting it and sharing it on social media. So to those of you who were sharing it, I really appreciate it a lot. And if by any chance you haven't seen it, there's a link to it on this card right here. So I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I really didn't have a plan for this week's video. I got my wisdom teeth pulled out on Monday and I was in a lot of pain and I really didn't want to sit down and record something. Not to mention that my face was all swollen up, so yeah, that probably wouldn't have looked the best on video. Since I really didn't have an idea for this week's video, I decided I was gonna rewind and go back to one of the songs I released last year called I Feel Alive.
Cause when I'm with you, I feel so alive. I feel like I'm soaring through the night. I can't live without you, I'm suffering without you by my side. Oh baby.
If you haven't already heard the song, there's going to be a link in the description down below where you can go listen to it on Spotify or Tidal, Apple Music, or whatever it is you listen to music on. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you how I made that song. This song is actually one of my favorite songs that I've ever released. I'm not going to lie, I still play it from time to time in my car. I don't know if it's bad to play your own music while you're in your own car. I don't think it is. I think it's just showing support for yourself. I don't really care. I'm still gonna do it. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. So I started making this song at the start of the pandemic. I was home and I didn't have much to do, so I spent a lot of time producing and just getting better at writing songs. Fortunately, this was one of the songs that came out of that time in quarantine. When quarantine first started, I decided one of the things I wanted to get better at was sound design. So I would spend a lot of time designing from anything from pads to basses to plucks. And one of the pads that I created was this patch right here. To me, it kind of gives you an 80s pad kind of feel, and I really love the warmth that it has. To this day, it's still one of the patches that I use the most just because of how much I like it. So once I had that down, I went ahead and added a bass line to accompany it, and this is how that bass line sounded like. And as you can tell from this part right here, it's 3 different bass sounds. I have this top bass right here. Then I have this sub bass. And finally, I have this electric bass to give it this nice warm sound. I'm gonna be honest, the bass I kind of took a bit of inspiration from one of Madion's songs from his new album, Good Faith. I just really love the warmth that some of the songs have, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that he used an electric, what I assume was an electric bass. So I wanted to kind of recreate that feeling here. So once I had the bass line and the chord progression down, I decided to add in a kind of disco-ish drum pattern, and this is how that sounded like. And as you can see, the main snare consists of 4 different snares along with this clap that comes in on the 4th of every measure. And then I wasn't completely satisfied with how it sounded on its own. I went ahead and added in some percussion elements, and this is how they sound like on their own. And together with the drum pattern I had before, it sounded like this. And with all of that combined, this is how that sounded. So I was pretty happy to have that as the verse. And then for the pre-chorus, I ended up adding a hi-hat loop and a pad sound, and the pad on sound sounds like this. As you can tell, I really wanted to go for that dreamy vibe, and I think that pad really helped give it that feel. And together with the hi-hat loop and what I had before this, that sound. So now onto the chorus, and the chorus itself follows the same chord progression from the verses and the pre-chorus. One of the things that I did different for the chorus was that I decided to take off the bass line and add in a Reese bass, and this is how that sounded like. And one of the things I like about this bass is that, again, this was one of the basses that I designed myself. And secondly, it has that like warm and distorted feel. And that was something that I felt was a nice contrast to kind of like the dreamy-esque thing that was going on with the pads. Speaking of pads, one of the things that I found pretty cool in the making of this process is using plugs to make pads. That might sound a bit weird, since plugs usually are meant to be kind of like the leads sometimes, or have like the melody. But the way that I turned that pluck into a pad is that I took the dry sample, which as you can see was a pattern that was just playing 16 notes the whole way through. The way I turned it into a pad is by using this plugin that I like to use a lot called Valhalla Shimmer. If you haven't tried it out already for yourself, I greatly recommend it. It's just so good. This is how that ARP sounded after I put in the Valhalla Shimmer. And one of the things that I really like using this plugin for is just turning anything into a pad sound. I've turned guitar samples into pads, plucks as you saw. And the reason I really like using it is because it gives it a nice tonality that you probably wouldn't get from a regular pad, at least not with other processing. So this just kind of makes it easier, at least for me. And finally, synth-wise, one of the things that I added was this synth riser that was just going up every bar, and then towards the second half of the build goes up every half a bar, and this is how that sounded like. And it's nothing too special, honestly. It's just following the scale of the song, and it's just a synth that's gliding from note to note. So it's nothing too special. So then I just wanted like a 4-bar build, which really is just like 3 bars plus fill. And it's very simple. I just took this shake a loop from a sample pack that sounds like this on its own. And I really like to use the sample for build-ups because it kind of has like that marching snare feel. One of the things that I added to it was a low-pass filter that would slowly open up, and this is how that sounded like. And the whole build along with the fill sounds something like this. And funny thing about the cowbell is that I didn't have anything here, but after hearing it a couple times, I was like, this needs something, and I tried a lot of different fills and like complicated stuff, and then at the end it just ended up being this simple cowbell, and I was like, this works. I'm using it. And yeah, that's history on that cowbell. And the build along with the synths and the effects ended up sounding like this. So for the drop section of the song, I ended up layering about different sounds and playing with filters to give it like that rising action that you hear in the drop. And let me just go ahead and play those by themselves so you can hear what I'm talking about. So first off, it starts off with the electric piano, and I also reversed it to also give it that rising action, and this is what that sounds like. Then I layered in this synth, along with this one. Don't forget about this one. I also added in this one that's kind of wobbly, and this is how that sounds like. And finally, I just have a white noise filter, and this is how that sounds like. And again, altogether, this is how that sounded like. And bringing these sounds along together with the bass line and the drum pattern from before, this is how that sounded like. So after that, I basically just copy pasted the first half into the second half, and obviously added some variation. One of the things that I added in to variate was this ARP pattern, and this how that sounded like. And if I remember correctly, I modeled this ARP sound after the main ARP that you hear in Stranger Things. But obviously, I made it a bit brighter and added some reverb to it. So now into my favorite part of the whole song, which is the vocals. Which, funny story about the song, I finished the song in about a week, and I had it laying down in my hard drive for about 6 months. It wasn't until I moved into my dorms that I was like going through my project files and ran into this one again. And I was like, you know what? This song needs some vocals. So I went ahead and started writing some vocals for it. And so obviously the song kind of has like a dreamy vibe to it. So I kind of wanted the lyrics to mimic that as well. In my opinion, one of the ways you feel dreamy is, when you're in love. So obviously I was like, you know what, let's just write a love song. And yes, I'm probably cheesy for saying that, but that's just who I am. So the processing on the vocals is nothing too exciting. I just have an EQ, a compressor, a vocal doubler, and vintage reverb on it, which usually I use reverb sends for everything. But when I have it on the vocals, I just kind of like having it straight on the track, just because I find it a bit easier to manage that way. So here's a comparison of both the dry and the wet vocals.
Girl, you got me going crazy. Yeah, you always on my mind. I'll just be straight up with you. I don't wanna waste more time.
And if you see these little parts down here, these are actually some delays, which when I was making this song, I didn't know that you could automate a fruity delay to remove the output so that you would only get that part that you wanted instead of the whole thing. So the way I went about it is I duplicated all of the tracks, which as you can see, I did every part separately. And I just cut the parts that I wanted to be affected by the delay, and this is how they sounded by themselves.
Crazy with you.
And together with the main vocal, it sounded like this.
Girl, you got me going crazy. Yeah, you always on my mind. I'll just be straight up with you. I don't wanna waste more time.
So the harmonies have the same processing as the main vocals. The only difference being is that I used the stereo spread knob to make it a bit wider, and I added a ton more reverb onto them to keep giving it that dreamy vibe that I was going for. And this is how the first harmony sounded by itself.
Girl, just take my gun, let's run away.
And this is how the high harmony sounded like.
Girl, just take my gun, let's run away.
So together those two harmonies sounded like this.
Girl, just take my gun, let's run away.
And together with the main vocal and the delays, it sounded like this.
Girl, just take my gun, let's run away. Feel the wind, got in away.
So for the chorus vocals, I really wanted them to pop out in your face. So one of the things that I did to give it that effect was that I duplicated 2 times, and I shifted one of them slightly to the left and one slightly to the right. And after I shifted both of them, I panned one hard right and the other hard left. And this is how they sound like together with the main vocal.
Cause when I'm with you, I feel so alive.
Which also helps give it some width. And one of the things that I like to do for my choruses is to really emphasize the vocals to let you know, okay, this is the chorus. So one of the ways that I like doing that is, like in this case, I like just duplicating everything a lot of times. So then what I did is I duplicated the vocal 2 more times. And this time what I did is that I used the manipulator to turn one of the vocals into a low vocal and one of them into a high vocal. So this is how the low vocal sounds like.
Cause when I'm with you, I feel so alive. I feel like I'm soaring through the night.
And this is how the high vocal sounds like.
Cause when I'm with you, I feel so alive. I feel like I'm soaring through the night.
And together all of the vocals sound like this.
Cause when I'm with you, I feel so alive. I feel like I'm soaring through the night.
And you can really hear that dream vibe that I was trying to go for, specifically in the chorus. And now for the drop, what I did is recorded these vocals and then pitched one down and pitched one up and panned one to the left and one to the right to give it a nice stereo image. And this is how they sounded like together.
Oh baby, I feel so alive. I feel so alive. I feel so alive. I feel so alive.
And together with the rest of the elements in the drop, this is how that sounded like.
Oh baby.
And then one of the final things I did vocal wise is I added in this vocoded vocal, and this is how that sounds like. Which I really liked the addition of it. It kind of gave it like a little Daft Punk-esque feel to it, and I'm very proud of how it came out in the end. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this week's video. I think this might be a shorter video. I don't know, I haven't edited it yet, so yeah, it may be longer. Honestly, I feel good coming back to this song because, like I said at the beginning, this is one of the songs that I'm very proud of. I didn't realize until I was recording the video that this is the first song that I released that actually had my vocals on it, so it was like a big step for me. Also forgot to mention is that this song was mastered by Tim Biesta, which I'll leave a link to his Instagram down below. He's a really good mastering engineer. Honestly, really love how the mastered track sounds like, and that's all thanks to him. So yeah, that's gonna be it for today's video. Let me know if you have any other ideas for any videos I should do or any covers that I should make. As always, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button, and if you could please share it with your friends, I'd greatly appreciate it. I'm really trying to grow this YouTube channel. So having your guys' help really means a lot to me. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys next week. And now onto my favorite part of the whole song, which is the vocals. Which funny story about this track is that, guys, if you're seeing this, just next time I record, just keep it down, please. Okay, just keep it down, please. I beg you. Okay.